friends. I am happy to be with you. What a week it's been. What a crazy week it's been. And I just got back from the park. It's late. It's 8:30 and my siblings, well, some of my siblings, I'm one of 6 kids. And so I was with my eldest sister and her daughter and my nephew. He's 1.5. Well, more than 1.5. He'll be 2 in July. And then I was with the second in the line, my eldest brother and his wife and daughter. And we met up with a dear friend of mine, and it was so much fun. We played football and volleyball and went for a little run and swang on the swings. And it was really fun. It was very physical. And as I was jogging with my niece, we went for a little jog after dinner. And as we were jogging, I just thought about how much we don't viscerally engage with life. We're not actually living in the moment so much so as we're existing, observing the moment. We're not active participants in our own lives. And so as we were running, I was talking to my niece. She's 11. She'll be 12 in September. I'm sorry. And we were just chatting about that, like why being physical in our lives is so important, because it really helps us to be so present and really, really engage with the moment. And it inspired our conversation for tonight, because as we think about what constitutes the quality of our life, what are the key performance indicators? That's a term so often used in business, the KPIs that measure success, that indicate whether we're on the right track or not. And so as we're talking about this question, what is the quality of our life? It really forces us to consider, well, what are the indicators that determine whether I'm on the right path in terms of, am I going towards what I want? Am I heading towards a life and legacy that I'm going to be proud of? And then the question is, well, what does quality mean to you and me? There's a friend on the Knowing Show who I just love and adore, and he has made it very, very clear that kind of the contentment with life right now is what he wants. He's proud of how he's lived, and he's not hungry for more right now, and he's very, very pleased with that. Whereas for me and for others that I've talked to, I'll just say for others that I've talked to, the quality of their life is actually marked by their relationships. Whereas for others that I've talked to, the quality of their life is marked by their spirituality and their connectedness to God. Whereas for others, it's their children. Am I connected with my kids? And the quality of their life is so often mirrored back to them by the relationship with their children. And so it really forces us to question, what does success mean to you and me about whether we are living a quality life? And I haven't thought about that question very often. It's so much easier to just be existing behind this device and living vicariously through everyone else. But for me to put down my phone and go and engage life viscerally. One of my very favorite song lyrics is, I want to live this one wild life. I want to rip it apart. And there's something about the visceral engagement with life that requires us to actually be open-handed. We don't have a phone, a device in our hands. It forces us to actually come to grasps with the question of, am I brave enough to experience something new, which then requires you and me to step out of that which we know. To step out of the ordinary, to step out of the mundane, to step away from the certainty. And so if we are wanting to engage with life at a visceral level, and we want a quality of life that is on an upward trajectory, well, then what that means is that in going up, we're actually getting to levels that we've never experienced before. Thus, we actually don't know what it's going to be like and what it's going to hold. And so if we actually want to get to the next level, if we want to experience growth, we must then be willing to experience the discomfort of that which is uncertain and that which we don't know. And so in that process, though, it's so, I don't know about y'all, it's been so exciting to live an uncertain life. And it's only been in the last 4 years that my life, not by my own doing, just fell completely apart. And then it's like, oh, all right, am I going to embrace this new life and all of the uncertainty that it has to offer? and instead reframe to look at the uncertainty as really a gift that will propel us forward into the next season where we have no idea what it's going to hold. And how exciting is that? How exciting for us to be able to live and engage with this life where it's unpredictable and we don't want to know what it's going to hold. So before we keep going, I just want to jump here in the chat. Jermaine, good evening. I'm glad to see you. Ayon, hey, where are you from? I am from Maryland. I grew up in Maryland. That's actually where I am right now. I flew into town last week. My uncle passed away, and so the funeral is tomorrow, so I'm still here with my family, and I got to tell you, it's super life-giving to be with my family and to grieve with them and to be reminded that this life matters so much. Even though it's not the end-all be-all, I really actually believe that there's still so much joy to be had here in this moment and here in this world for so long as we have it. And so I'm here in Maryland with my family right now. What is the actual quality of life, or is it relative? Malaglu, I love that question, and I think it is entirely relevant in some ways to the individual. I think it's important that we all actually take the time to determine what does a quality life mean to you and me. And this is where terms and definitions are so important. What is a quality life to you? And honestly, I think it's important that we actually break down that definition of a quality life for every single category. On the Knowing Show, we talk about the different intelligences that all together conjure up a human being. It's the intellectual intelligence, our mind. It's our emotional intelligence, our emotions, our soul. It's our physical intelligence, our body. Our body literally holds and retains data. And spiritual intelligence, our spirit, our connection to God, and even a connection at kind of this level where it's like, I don't know how I knew that, but I did. And so many of us have had that feeling before. So then the question is, okay, what does quality look like? What does a quality life look like intellectually? What does a quality life look like spiritually? What does a quality life look like for me emotionally and physically? And so I actually want to break down each one of those categories tonight, and this is entirely up to you. I will say I think that there are some kind of universal principles that would lead to, for the most part, a quality physical life, which is to not eat garbage and trash our bodies. I think that's a universal principle, that what you put in is most likely going to determine how you feel. So there's like principles that most could agree with, kind of like the laws of the universe, so to say, like law of attraction. And there's just different laws that we can all agree to. Okay, if I abide by this law, this is going to be the most likely outcome, because look at this history of data to back that up. Hence, it becomes a law. But for us, on to your point about being relative, the quality by which we then use as the definition for each one of these categories is so important that we consider, for the sake of, then are you living a life you're proud of? Am I actively creating a life that I love? And y'all, we can do that. A friend of mine, he just moved to the Philippines with his wife. I just totally was so excited. I just spit a little bit. I need to take out my gum. I get so excited when I'm talking about this stuff, because y'all, if we don't talk about these questions around what constitutes a quality life, what brings meaning, what derives meaning for me versus what derives meaning for you, the likely outcome is living unawake and unaware of our life. And then one day we wake up and look back and we're like, where did all that time go? How was I living my days? You know, people will say, hey, how was your weekend? And you're like, I don't even remember what I did. I don't want to live that way. And so the Knowing Show is for the people that want to live awake and aware, that want to make the most out of their days and want to live a life that they're proud of, that ultimately want to activate every part of them so that they can fully live into their purpose and their calling. And I believe that every single one of us has a unique reason why we're here. I mean, and we also need each other. You know, and the revelations that you get, I want to learn. You know, I want to learn from you. And so much, almost every single show, I come off better than I was before. And that's my hope and prayer for every single one of us, is that this show, and I just got notified by YouTube that we can have our community hangout here, which is super cool, and I need to figure out how to use it. But that's so much of what I'm working to create, is a place where how can we all literally be better together and walk away and be better fathers and wives and leaders in our community and employees, so that we then can bring the health of the individual to then bring that into the community. But it starts at the individual level. We must be healthy individually first, internally, to then go and impact the health of the external world in which we live. For so many years, and then I'm going to jump back here in the chat in a moment. For so many years, I was the sick one trying to heal the sick. I was so horizontally focused. I was looking to everyone around me, trying to love people and tend to people, but I had never tended to myself. So it really was the sick trying to heal the sick. And there's so much of that in our culture because we've never learned how to be healthy in the first place. And so what does it look like for you and me to take radical responsibility rather than assigning blame and pointing the finger, but to take radical responsibility for the life that God gave each one of us, and then walk that out and live that out to then impact those around us. I'm going to go ahead and hop here in the chat, and I'm just going to put a few of the folks who are being unkind in timeout just to keep us focused on the topic at hand. All right, I am jumping back here in the chat. I loved that question, Molaglu, because yes, I think the quality of life is entirely relative in so many ways to your definition across those levels of analysis: intellectual intelligence, emotional, spiritual, physical. What does a quality life in each one of those regards look like and mean to you? All right, just scrolling down. Handsome Kilad, good evening. Thank you. Thanks for joining. Wayne, hello. I'm glad to see you. What's up, woman? British Baker Boy, hello. Thank you. Thanks for coming on here. I'm glad you got to spend some quality time with your family. Oh my gosh, Wayne, it's been really, really wonderful. I'm so grateful. I'm grateful we're as close as we are. And my parents have done just a beautiful job. You know, my mom she stayed at home with us. God bless. She had 6 kids, and you know, my dad worked so hard so that she could stay home and raise us. And I think it's paying off in so many ways. And we all just love them and love each other. And that doesn't mean it's easy. I'll say that. It's kind of like something to fight for. You know, when you believe in something and want something and are hoping for something, it actually then requires that much more effort. What is the concept of, if it's a good thing? I don't remember the exact phrase, but it's along the lines of, if it's a good thing, it's actually going to be harder to come by, and it's actually going to require more work. And almost the amount of work that a good thing requires proves that it's a good thing in the first place. Raul, good evening. Koperik, good evening. We are talking about how to live a quality life. Michael Grimes, hello. I had a friend, Michael Grimes, at one point. Ghost Dog, hello. Drew, good evening. Soldier Boy, hello. All right, scrolling. Lord William, hello. Lucian. Ivan, hello. I recognize you. Bill Crew, hello. Oxys. All right, Joseph, I'm putting you on time out. Wow. All right, I am going to put you on the block list because that's so inappropriate. Christopher Adams, a gem cannot be polished without friction, just as a man isn't perfected without his trials. Seneca the Younger. So beautifully said. I'm always so grateful to see your name on here. Guys, here's the thing that's really amazing. I'm so grateful for those of you who show up and actually really add and bring value. You know, Christopher Adams, I've learned so much from you. So I'm so grateful for how you've been showing up and the value that you bring. Wayne, you too. And just really appreciate y'all for being genuine. So thank you. Jordan, Good evening. Isaiah, good evening. Hi from Perth, Australia. I love it. From Indiana. Good evening, Manny and Daniel. Y'all, I've got a question. I have a question for each one of you, and I want to go through these categories. So for those of you who are just joining, we're talking about how to live a quality life. And I would like for each one of us to break down what does a quality life mean for you in each one of these categories: intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And I actually want to start with, what does it mean to you intellectually? What does a quality life mean to you intellectually? Because each one of us are going to have different goals there. For my mom, intellectual intelligence, she was raising kids. She actually didn't go to college. She naturally is very smart, but cultivating intellectual intelligence was never that high on a priority for her. For her, it was all about relationships. It wasn't even so much about the cultivation of her mind. Whereas one of my sisters, she wants to be a doctor. So very different definitions of a quality life in the intellectual sphere. And so I'd love to know, how do you define a quality life as it pertains to intellectualism? And what are your goals? Like, what does success mean for you in that regard? And as y'all answer, I'm just going to keep looking here in the chats, and then we'll kind of come back to this question. Jingle Jungle, I'm so glad to see you. My quality of life is very poor. I'd love to know why. If you're up for sharing, let's get honest. Why is your quality of life very poor? Daniel Phipps, we love you too. Oh, I love y'all. I really, really do. Khaled, hi, I'm from Egypt. Oh, thanks for hanging out with us. JF, hello. I have a wish. I have a kind of nice dream. The reality I still wish. I still dream. I live with a curiosity, a hope, a belief that I can live a dream and wish it for you too. I actually, what you're saying there, a curiosity, a hope, a belief that I can live a dream. JF, what you said right there is so incredibly poignant to this discussion, because what we're talking about in some ways is both aspirational and it is very present tense. Like, how are you currently living? You know, Jingle Jungle, you said you have a poor quality life. So, okay, let's assess what is our current life now, and then what is the future that we would love to effectively step into and walk in, that is, to your point, a hope, a wish, a dream. And so there is more than likely a tension in the reality of what is versus the ideal to which we're aspiring. And so I love that you said that, because I think that that's actually a good layer and a distinction for us to identify, you know, what is the quality of your life intellectually right now versus what is your ideal. So thank you so much for saying that. That is so important. Daniel Phipps, Whose Ears Love Family. I don't know what Whose Ears is, but Jules, good evening. I'm glad you're here. I'm from Ireland. Oh, cool. Raimu, if it were only that simple. From India. Hello, SEOC. Manny, finding agape true love. I'm with you. Banana Man, hello. Because I don't have an intel. Oh. Jungle Jungie, you have two different faces here. Like, your icon is changing. DJ, hello. I'm so glad to see you. American Redneck, hello. Thanks for joining. Benjamin, good evening. Wayne, I'm doing good. I'm doing well. It's been, actually, once I hop off here, I need to work on the slideshow for tomorrow, which it's been really sweet. There's just so many wonderful photos of my uncle, and it was so funny. And I want to get back to our conversation here in just a moment, but it was really interesting. I found on my Facebook flashback, I guess, 19 years ago, my uncle, Tim, who passed away last week to today, a week ago today, he was helping my cousin, his daughter, myself, and a friend of mine with our debate team. And it was so wild, you know, a week ago, seeing that. And I picked up my niece from school, and she was just leaving her debate class. And I'm like, wow, this is so weird. Like, I'm picking up her from debate class. A week ago, my Uncle Tim passed away, and then I see this picture show up of doing debate class with my Uncle Tim 19 years ago. So I don't know. It's been really sweet to just be with family. And honestly, be reminded that family, talk about living a quality life. You know, where does family fit into our hierarchy of priorities, and where potentially would that need to adjust? So that's just food for thought. But I'm going to go back to y'all. For those of you just joining, the question that we're talking about tonight is, how do you define the quality of your life as it pertains to your intellect, your emotions, your spirituality, and your physicality? So our emotional intelligence, intellectual intelligence, spiritual intelligence, physical intelligence, because all of those amalgamate into the quality of your life. But we need to break each one down, assess where we are right now against where are we from our ideal. How far off are we? And then we can actually make real change in our lives once we actually get a status of, okay, this is where we're starting from. Now we're kind of like, once we identify where we're starting from, now we're really lining up to the race. And now the gunshot can fire, and we can actually go and move towards our ideal. But first we need to take an assessment of where are we now, and then where do we even want to go to begin with. And we're starting off with intellect. How do you define a quality intellectual life? So that's the question. Javon, good to see you. Jordan Diamond, I've had very spiritual experiences since I was 5 years old. So I see the world totally differently. I want to get back to nature, but I think you meant to say it's hard. Wow. I would love, man, that's a whole, we'll get to spiritual intelligence in a moment, because I feel like there's a lot that you can share. Jingle Jungle says, I want to have, you want to have a not so good looking, but intelligent girlfriend. I think that's a really good endeavor, you know, especially, you know what that shows is that shows your priority. Going to choose a partner. How are you going to order their mind versus their emotions versus physicality versus spirituality? It's really important that we actually do that, not just for ourselves, what's our own hierarchy, but what's our hierarchy in our partner? Because until we're honest with ourselves, especially for those who are still looking for a partner, if we're not honest with ourselves, we're never then going to be able to truly be led from within, because we're blocking off and actually literally getting in the way of our own intuition. You know, the Latin root of intuition is intuere, to be taught from within. That's what intuition means. And so if we're not allowing ourselves to actually be honest with ourselves, we then cannot be led from within ourselves to then pick that right partner and go with, I know actually how I'm being led, because we actually have to awaken and recover that relationship to begin with in order to then be led. So I love Jingle Jungle, just that you're being honest with that. Cause it's there. Hello. Snowboard, rock climb, hiking, fly fishing, no money, no ownership of anything, free mind, free life, empathy towards everyone. Shrooms help knock the ego down. I have heard that so much. So that's your quality of life. Snowboarding, rock climbing, hiking, fly fishing, no money, no ownership of anything, free mind, free life, empathy towards everyone. That, man, that's so beautiful. Talk about a different kind of freedom than most people are talking about freedom of money rather than freedom of responsibility, perhaps. Hey girl, do you want to come on and say hi? No, my niece is here. Do you want to come and say hi? Just over here. You look great. No. This is my niece. She has her nonprofit, Caring Crafts and Cookies. Do you want to tell them about your nonprofit? I can?
You feel better than me.
All right. Well, I'll tell you about her nonprofit. Do you want to just come say hi? I'm talking about you. It's weird. Here, come sit on my lap. Y'all, this is my niece, Alyssa Rose. Here, I'll pick this up. I don't normally look at myself when I'm talking, so now you can see where you are on the camera. Hello. I don't know how old you are.
I'm 11.
11. And can you tell them about your nonprofit?
It's called Karen Crafts and Cookies, and I take cookies and crafts to nursing homes, and we sing songs, and it's great.
So cool. Tell them about the first time you went.
We went around Christmas, and yeah, it was just really fun. They had a great time.
They loved it. Y'all, for so many of us who are like, how do I find friends, make friends? How do I use my time well? How do I live? We're talking right now about how to live a quality life. Go serve. Go love on people. How did it feel for you to do that?
It was great. It was nice to see them smile and have so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was cool because she had so many crafts. And so talk about alchemy, to go and rather than just throwing away the crafts, to go and give them away. So yeah. Anything on your mind that you want to talk about?
I just want to say goodnight.
Good night. I love you. It was so fun playing with you today. Bye, girl. Bye. She's so wonderful. Okay. I am going to, hold on, I'm scrolling down to the chats. Isn't she, it just says, very cool. What a smart young lady. I know. Jerry says she looks 12. I know. She's going to be 12 in September. I cannot even. Anyways, I'm really, really, really proud of her. So, Jerry says, who's the other girl? That was my niece. Her name's Alyssa. She's so sweet. Mr. Penguin, first, I love your name. Penguins are my favorite. Yes, she's really special to me out of all my nieces and nephews, just because when her daddy was killed when she was 3 weeks old by a drunk driver. And so she moved in 3 weeks old with my sister, and we just kind of helped raise her. So it was just really special to live with her since she was a baby girl. Michael Rice, good evening. Jerry B. Eldarin. All right, I'm just scrolling up. Quality and okay, I'm gonna scroll up to where I was because I lost y'all. Okay. 331 grabber. A truck driver picking up a load of salt in Newark, California here, stuck at a loading dock. Oh, dude, I'm so glad you're here. Hello. Man, y'all, isn't it crazy that we're not just all over the world, but all doing very different things, such as stuck at a loading dock. So what a life, y'all. How cool that we all get to be connected from all over. It's truly all over. All right. Christopher Adams coming in hot here. To read without reflecting is like eating without digesting. So good. Meditation is essential in grasping the essence or intellectual quality of what we learn, specifically on remission, more so. I've never thought about meditation in that regard, of truly taking the time and really giving space for it really is. Okay, so the way that I think of it is our body, for program computer developers out there, thinking of our bodies and brains and minds, beings, like a computer processing system. We get the input, and then we need to actually go into the computer processing system, and then it informs the output. But if we don't ever allow for that which we have as an input, that which we receive, to then be processed, it will never really be able to cultivate itself into an intentional output in our lives. And the result of that could be sporadic little outbursts of outputs that haven't truly been processed. So then we're actually acting out of alignment. We're caught by surprise by our own selves, by our own thoughts or actions, behaviors. Or we're actually not even acting in alignment with what we really think, with what is even in accordance with our own values, because we're just repeating back what somebody said. It hasn't been fully processed. I love that, Christopher Adams. That's so, so, so good. Jeremy, good evening. Good to see you. Jules, Sai, I love that. Jingle Jungle says, family is everything. Blood is thicker than water. So good. Thank you, JV. I just really appreciate that. All right, it's 1:54 a.m. Go to sleep, my friend. Thanks for joining. I'm glad you did. Elder and milk is thicker than water. Jerry B, 504, good evening. Do you talk to your neighbors? If not, talk more and interact and make neighbor friends. SEOC. I love that. Do you talk to your neighbors? If not, talk more and interact with them and make neighbor friends. I really, 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 really love that. You do not have to be blood in order to be family. I have many brothers whom I served with who are closer than blood family. DJ, I've heard that so much. I've heard that so much. And I think that there's also an element of like, when you haven't grown up at all with a healthy family, to then be able to go and intentionally choose the people that then you want to do life with. Man, what a gift that is. American Redneck, good evening. Explain emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, there's kind of two parts to the overarching definition. And the first part actually has everything to do with you and me. It is the ability to be aware of, understand, control, and express one's own emotions. And this is the second part, and this actually has to do with relationships. The ability to handle interpersonal relationships with empathy and with wisdom. And so the first half of emotional intelligence is entirely all about our inward responsibility that then translates externally. And if we have not done the work to be responsible for ourselves, it's so hard to do the interpersonal relationship well. It's really hard to express empathy and operate with wisdom if we have no access to our own inner guiding system. Thus, we have no access to wisdom. And then if we have not first taken the time to sit in our own experience, that empathy can easily turn into codependence. That's where there's just a lot of danger there. If we're not actually being led from within and having that authentic knowledge and knowing of our own selves, it's going to be so easy to get into very unhealthy horizontal external relationships because we don't have a healthy internal relationship that we're founded on. We don't really have a foundation. All right, just scrolling down. Long Shot says, how close I am to Jesus. Am I spending time in prayer or studying his word? If not, doing these things in my life feels empty and fake. It's interesting. We were talking about the order of priority for intellectual intelligence, emotional intelligence, spiritual intelligence. It really is so dependent on your order and also what you have seen. That this is so funny. It's funny you say that, because my mom was speaking with me today, and some of the things that I'm coming around to question in a spiritual way, I'm questioning it because my foundation is a certain way. And so now in my 30s, my priorities have shifted so much because of my very upbringing. So someone else could have a very different hierarchy of priority because of their upbringing, and because they actually had a very flip-flopped foundation. That's kind of with the pendulum swing. I grew up on a very one side of the aisle. I haven't swung to a completely other side of the aisle in terms of, I'm not talking about religion. I'm not talking about politics. I'm talking about the hierarchy of ordering intellectual intelligence, spiritual, emotional, physical. Like, now I'm realizing actually it is so incredibly important to know how to take care of my physical body, because I am fundamentally unable to operate in my calling if I'm not well. If I'm sick in bed and I'm not tending to my physical body and the vessel that is the conduit for everything that I believe and feel and hope and want and desire that I'm called to do, well then, man, I'm actually not being responsible. So now my hierarchy of physical intelligence and the manifestation of that has now slowly, incrementally notched up over some of the other things that I've actually spent the majority of my life cultivating. And it's just kind of this seasonal time of like, okay, and you know what's interesting, even as I say that, perhaps it's even the times of day. I actually start out my mornings prioritizing spiritual intelligence and physical intelligence. Those are my main two. And then it moves up to intellectual and emotional intelligence. And then I actually kind of end the day the same with spiritual and physical intelligence. And so it's very interesting. This is a fun conversation because this hierarchy of prioritization adjusts not just in seasons, but also even just incrementally throughout the day. I have found that if I start my mornings with those two being prioritized, spiritual and physical intelligence, man, I operate so much more in alignment than if I were to immediately jump into my emails or jump into my text messages. Like I'm completely thrown off, and now everyone around me externally is kind of ordering my day for me. Just scrolling down here in the chat, quality intellectual life starts with understanding that the Bible is the inherent prophecy, word of God, and the infallible history of the world. Just kind of talking about that. Affectionate and honest and understanding. Jasmine, I'm going to put you on timeout here just because we don't talk like that. Jeremy, I feel I am too aware and it keeps me up at night and keeps me from having friends or a life, and have PTSD from the last past ladies. So I can't find comfort in anything. It's all gray and I get stuck. Jeremy, I went through a season where I actually really had to put emotional intelligence at the pinnacle of my hierarchy because I was so disconnected from myself. And it was interesting because in the recovery of my relationship with me, I actually really came to know God so much more because we're made in his image. I believe that wholeheartedly. I really do. And so as I came to know the created, I came to know the creator in a profound way. I had spent 28 years of my life pursuing a relationship with God, but it was all one-sided. I was pursuing knowing him, but I wasn't letting him know me or even knowing myself to then have a back and forth relationship. That's how I engaged with my former husband. That's how I engaged with my entire family. It was all very codependent and it was all one-sided. And I had no access to myself to then even have any kind of emotional response in return to who I was trying to be in relationship with. So I would be curious. I'd be curious about going inward for the pursuit of understanding why, what's there. And also I know DJ, I'm not sure how much, I'm sure you could speak to the PTSD side, given your experience and just how you've served, because anytime you serve in these really extreme and incredibly important capacities, there's not a ton of, from what I've heard, there's not a huge support system. So I wonder, DJ, how much you could support there. And y'all, this is why we have these conversations, is so that we can really come around and support each other and love each other. Spiritual alchemy. Hi. What advice would you give to someone wanting to be more present in this moment? From my experience, man, I love this question. I found that activating my senses was so incredible. It just like brought all of me here and now. So one of the moments that I just have like solidified in my mind is this moment. I was sitting and watching the sunset and I felt the sand under my feet. I felt the breeze in my face. I actually lit a candle on the beach. And so I was visually, audibly, my nose, I was smelling, I was, on my skin, I was feeling, every part of me was so incredibly present. And man, I can remember that. And then the next day, you know, it's like watching the wind move through the trees. There really is something, y'all, about distancing ourselves from the inputs. We were talking earlier about how we can be like a computer processing system where we're having all these inputs. Are we giving ourselves time to process what's there? So the elimination of inputs has helped me so much to be present. I did this kind of detox back last summer for 2 weeks. I had no inputs from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. and then again 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. or until I went to bed. No phone, no music, no podcast, no book. And I went for walks, and it was really actually quite hard. It felt more like, it was like less than of a detox. It was almost more like when you're going through withdrawal, you know, just like there was no stimulus. But after probably 2 or 3 days, it was like, wow, I actually started really accessing, not just accessing, you know, parts of me and listening to God, but also like really accessing the present moment and just coming to peace. You know, there was a lot less to stimulate us, and therefore we are finding more peace in the lack of stimuli. All right, just scrolling down. Stingberg, hello. Yes, Jordan, I think grounding in nature is key right now, especially with the energies hitting earth. Putting your feet on the ground is big with coming back to yourself. It was so fun playing outside too. You know, one of the things I actually wrote down in terms of the quality of your life, and you know, we will dive deeper into this. Tomorrow night I have a funeral for my Uncle Tim, so I won't be live, but I'll be on tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. And then I'm flying to New Orleans Wednesday morning and for an event. So I'll plan to be live Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And I'd love to continue this conversation because y'all, we're making deposits into our future, into our relationships, into our spirit, into our mind, into our body. Every decision we make, making deposits. And so the question is, what is the compounding interest of all of our deposits into every area of our life? There are bank accounts on every relationship, on every business transaction, in every regard. And the question is, what are the quality of those deposits? So I want to continue this. I'm going to actually hop off now and go be with the rest of my family. I really, really, really am grateful for this conversation. And I'm grateful for, I'm just grateful to come to know y'all more, you know. In the next week or so will be, I've been saying this for the last week or so. I had planned to launch the community last week, and God had other plans. So, but there is a community tab on YouTube that just became available to me. I haven't used it yet, but apparently I can like make posts on there. So I will work to post when I'll be going live, I guess. I don't really know what else to post, but who knows, maybe actually this weekend, Sunday, I sent out kind of via my email to my newsletter list. I just sent out, I guess, kind of like a mini, it wasn't a eulogy. It was just like reflections after my uncle passed away. And so I guess I could post something like that on the community post. So we'll see. I'll figure out how to use it, but I'm excited to hear more from y'all and just engage and learn. So thank you all so much for joining. So grateful for you. And I'll be back again tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, every morning, 9 a.m. Eastern. And Wednesday night, we'll be back on here again to kind of do a part 2 of the quality of our lives and what are the deposits we're making so that we can effectively look back and really be proud of them to then say, yeah, I'm proud of the life I lived. So with that, thank you all so much for joining me tonight. Love you all, and I will see you tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. sharp.